Question: do you have a few minutes for either a cup of tea or a bottle of water or whatever it is you'd like to drink? Back in a minute. Hi, this is Jan from New York City. My channel name is Jan from New York City Saves Money. Sometimes I try to save time, energy, and even once in a great while, a little bit of sanity. I'm going to talk today on this Tea Tuesday, although I have a bottle of water with me. Today is the day I just feel like drinking extra water. Ever get days like that? You just want a little more water instead of something hot, whatever. But I do love my coffee, and I do love my tea, and I do love my hot chocolate. Today is a water day. How's everybody doing today? And by the way, if you're a YouTuber, you are more than welcome to please join this open collab on Tea Tuesday. Basically, you just talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. Anyway, I was thinking of something. You know, the weather's getting a little chillier. Well, we've had abnormally warm days here, so I should have had this chat about a month back, but the warmer weather just kept going and going and going. But I'm thinking of something, and it's just so easy, because that's really going to be my theme for 2022, simplicity. I'm going to talk more about this in the future and on the beginning of the year, New Year's Day, about that, and you'll see about that. But it occurred to me how many times, let's say this, especially when it comes to when you're not feeling well. Are you ever in a position where, like, you come down a little cold or a sore throat or whatever, and you're just not, you're feeling a little out, not that you're like dying sick type of feeling, but you just feel so like under the weather, if you will. And notice those are the days that, like, somebody's kind of like not around. You'd rather have a cup of tea and sympathy, if you will. Well, in this case, it really occurred to me about having something homemade, prepared, ready, and waiting for you. I always say this, that food in the freezer is like money in the bank. But now I'm going to specify this a little bit further. I think homemade, prepared meals from yourself that you know what you put in it, you know how you like it, it's just a ticket, especially for those days or nights when you're just not feeling well, especially homemade chicken soup. Don't ask me the reason. I don't know the reason, but how many times when you felt under the weather, you sort of crave homemade soup? Now, I'm not saying it's not easy. Just go grab a can and break one open. Yes, absolutely. Or get one of those cup things and pour the hot water on. And those are great for when you don't have that in the freezer. I think optimally, in my honest opinion, to be able, even if it's frozen, that's okay. Suppose you say, well, it's frozen, it's not defrosted, and you need it like soonish. Well, you could always defrost it. And there are two methods. You could defrost it, you know, quickly in a microwave, for example, or you can take your homemade soup and just put, here's what I've done without a microwave. I'll put a little bit of water in a saucepan. And what I'll do is I'll, boil that up. I'll put a pinch of salt. I'll take my frozen chicken soup, for example, and I'll put it in that. I'll cover that and I will simmer it. And really to me, I think it's worked out within a very short period of time. You just have to check on it now and then. You have your homemade soup. You don't have to chop, slice, dice, whatever. There are days. Now, that's one example. This is why I honestly, let me get some water. I honestly don't understand. Hang on 1 minute. Excuse me. I honestly don't understand. Like, for example, when some people, they're against batch cooking. Personally, I think batch cooking is great. for reasons like this. But if you don't happen to be a batch cooker type of person, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with you cooking at the very least something like this. Put it this way, anytime you have any sort of homemade chicken soup or homemade beef soup, whatever you want, something along the lines for specifically for when you're not feeling well, when you're congested, when your throat's a little scratchy, you have a little tickle, you got the little cough going on. To me, you just can't lose by having these recipes. And in the frugal community, we oftentimes, for example, let's say Monday through Friday, you have leftover veggies every single night. Who's to stop you from getting a food saver and whatever leftover veggies, it's not going to go to waste. You collect it Monday, you collect whatever you ate Tuesday, you collect whatever you ate, and so on and so forth. By Friday, you already have the makings for the base of your future soup, of which you can easily do and make that soup and put that where away for a future reference. I want to tell you a little story. At a situation like that, about, 15 years ago, I felt under the weather. And I had a hankering for my, I call it, it's my own name. It's kind of goofy, but I call it Jan's Magical Meatball Soup. And the reason why I call it, quote, end of quote, magical is for me specifically. If I was under the weather, don't ask me why, but I always felt much better the next day. Maybe for me, my body type or whatever, my ingredients in that recipe, it just worked out. It worked out really, really good. So I'm thinking, boy, I have a hankering for that soup, but it wasn't there. It wasn't there. And then it reminded me, Jan, you just have to start making sure that every time you just happen to make a batch of that specific soup that you love, put some away, date it, and that's it. Keep track of it. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you have a specific soup that you make that you could store easily in your freezer? Do you have a specific homemade soup that makes you feel better when you're under the weather? Or suppose your kid comes home from school that doesn't feel good that day. Take that down, and there it is. So the bottom line of my little tea chat today is plan ahead with stuff you already have. So stretch your soup a little more. Collect those vegetables Monday through Friday or whatever, for example. It's just a wonderful way to not only save money, you're saving time, effort, and for those days when you just don't feel 100%, or even those tired days, you come back from work and you're like, you want to avoid, this is my opinion, and I think I'm right. You want to avoid that expensive tip, especially those in the frugal community. Totally understand that. If you have something already there, you just take it down from your freezer, and there it is. Sort of like making yourself your own manufactured frozen food stockpile. Ooh, sounds fancy, don't it? But the idea being is that it works. I hope this helps someone, and it's definitely a budget saver. So for those who like to batch cook, let me know. I'm curious. And even if you don't batch cook per se, whatever leftover you have, whatever you do, don't throw it out. Make something out of it like a soup or a stew. There you go. There might be days that you're under the weather. Hope you're never under the weather. But if you're tired, take one and make it fast, easy dinner. So there. I'll be back in a minute with a wave. But in the meantime, this has been Jan from New York City. Don't forget, if you're a YouTuber and want to collab, please do so. We love your ideas. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Just want to get my outro. And by the way, until next Tuesday, have a very, very Merry Christmas.